Hey everyone, this is Martin and I'm back at the video editing desk today. And the last video we did had to do with, is paying cash a good idea or not when you're purchasing your land, whether it be your recreation property, your homestead, or off-grid type of a property. And I hope that we had some insight on that. Today we're going to look a little bit at, once you've made the decision that you're going to go for it, what are those steps to get you there? And but before we do that, I wanted to ask if you have found that any kind of value in these videos or entertainment. If you could go to the bottom of this video and click the subscribe button and then tap the notification bell and switch your notifications to all. That way, whenever we produce something new, you'll be notified that it's available. So let's get into the whole idea about how do you make that first initial purchase of the land to get yourself started on your property. And, in most cases, the land is going to be the single biggest expense that you have, especially nowadays with land prices being really kind of high. We just got done purchasing last October, which has been, 4 months ago now. And it was, it was not cheap, and but you can still find properties that are worthwhile. As we were looking at that, we wanted to use that property as a kind of a showcase of, can you do this? What are the costs? And what is the whole process of getting something from raw land to a homestead that has some off-grid potential to it. And so as we were looking at things anywhere from 5 acres up to 400 acres. And, a lot of that bigger stuff was going to be out of reach for us. It was just not going to be practical. We had decided that maybe the 5 to 10 acre range would be more representative of what most people are trying to achieve. So that's kind of where we focused our attention. And we found something that was about 12 acres and have been now down there, starting to build the first bit of infrastructure that will enable an off-grid type of a lifestyle down there. And it's been a little bit of a slow process because we've been putting up with the winter, but it's coming along, and there's videos of our progress available on our feeds there if you are interested in looking at any of those. But to start with, because that's your biggest expense, and if you've got the cash to do it, then, there's really no need for a video like this. If you don't have the cash for it and you're trying to figure out how to get started really without any resources or very little resources, then, this may help out. And so, as you start looking for land, the first thing I would recommend doing is, finding a handful of websites that have the land available in the area that you're looking. I always recommend going to a local MultiList. Find the MultiList that the realtors are using, because they're going to basically put everything up there that's available in the region that you're looking. And all you can search through. I just took a local realtor that has a good website and good search engines for the MultiList, and I use theirs. A lot of the realtors actually use for their search engines realtor.com, and that's a good one too. Sometimes things don't make it to that list as quickly as they do. They're actually a regular MultiList for the area, but they're there. And if you go to realtor.com, you can search on specific regions or specific towns, entire states, whatever, however you want to set that search criteria up, and really see everything that's available through that source. Zillow is another one that my wife likes to use. There's a few others that out there that if you just search for land available in like a Google search, it'll come up with different kind of resources for you to look at. You'll get a fix on what land costs are in the area that you're looking for. Here in Missouri, where we're at, land is actually pretty reasonable for the most part. We are close to the Branson area, which is a heavy tourist area. And so you're competing with developers and the entertainment industry and the tourism industry for land when the closer you get. So the closer you get, the more difficult it is to find something that's reasonable. We found that you got to get out about 20 miles before you start seeing reasonable land. And if you really want cheap land, you got to get out about 40 to 50 miles away from Branson and any other metropolitan areas before you can really find something that's very cheap. But that's kind of the first step, is start researching what you have out there. The second step is going to be, find out where you're at financially as far as with credit scores and things like that. If you don't have, and we're specifically speaking about if you don't have the cash to make a cash purchase of the land, you're going to have to find some financing to do it with. And to me, I actually like working with banks and lenders. They're stable mainly because, we have never had a bad experience with owner finance type of, and we've done a couple of owner finance type of purchases over the years. And we've never had a personal bad experience with that because we've always done a lot of due diligence ahead of time. But I know of people that have had terrible experiences with owner finance. You really need to have contracts in place that protect you if a seller is going to be carrying a long-term financing for you. And, I'll put a video on where I talk about a little bit of that, some of the pitfalls that you can run into when dealing with owner financing, down in the description here. And so if you get a chance, look at those. But basically, if you're going through some kind of a lender, a conventional lender like a bank or a savings and loan or something like that, they are going to make sure to protect their interests, which in itself will protect your interest in the purchase. Okay, now they're also going to protect their interest from you doing anything that's going to jeopardize their investment. So they're going to be protecting that too, but at least for the purchase, they're going to make sure that the purchase is a clean purchase or they won't do it. So, there's some benefit there. And basically, as long as you make your payments, you're not going to have problems with them. And right now they're actually, most of the ones that I know are telling me, hey, we got money to lend. If you're buying something, let us know. So right now is a good time to actually be purchasing. And if you're looking at something that's off grid, like what we do, off grid raw land, like we were doing, they're going to require a larger down payment percentage. If you're looking at something that's got a house or a house already on it, they're actually very, very, very generous terms right now from banks and lenders. I mean, I know people that have got recently been set up with like 2.5% interest loans that are long-term loans. And that's almost like paying nothing, really, when it comes down to it. So there's a lot of good options with that right now. So as you're looking for the land, trying to get a fix on the price, what you're going to have to pay for it, as you're beginning to save up, if you're going to be buying a property that already has housing on it and a well or, some of that infrastructure already there, you're really kind of looking at a 10% down, in some cases even better, especially if you're like a first-time home buyer. You can get even some better incentives than that. But knowing that, you're going to have to start saving up at least a little bit of something to make down payments with. When my wife and I first started kind of our real estate purchasing adventure, we didn't have really anything in the bank at all to make the first few deals happen. We actually increased the size of our mortgage a little bit so that we could have a little on our house to be able to have a little bit of cash to work with. But we also ended up selling some things that we had of value. I mean, it's how badly do you want to get into what you're doing or take this path of land ownership seriously? Are you willing to sell something that you have of value? And we were, and it's paid off over the years. But so those are the things you have to start working on first. Is start looking for land, get a fix on the prices, on the values, on what you're going to have to expect to spend for what you want. Start saving up some money, because you are going to have to be, especially if you're kind of the first time out on this thing, they're going to really want to see you put a little bit of, the banks call it skin in the game. They want to see you put something into it so that they have the confidence that you're into this as much as they are. And then the third thing is to go ahead and start developing those relationships with some of those bankers. We have, I tell the story in one of our resort videos that when we first was looking at doing our treehouse place, they, and I'll put a link down there for the treehouse thing too, but if you want to see it. But when we were first looking at that, we approached 9 banks about doing that deal for us before we really got one that was willing to do it. So, I would shop around, find, even when you're dealing with the exact same kind of thing, you can find as much as a 3% difference in rates that one is going to charge over the other one. So you do want to start developing a little bit of relationships with banks. Go in and talk to the lenders and just tell them what your plans are, and have them give you some guidance on what they're going to expect from you so that you know where to go. I would even recommend getting a credit score run. There's 3 agencies that do credit scores, and just get your credit score. Ask your bank to run a credit score for you if you don't know how to do it yourself. That's all groundwork that you're going to have to lay ahead of time before you really decide to make an offer and make a purchase on a property. As you're doing those things, not only are you going to have to, be researching the land, finding a lender to work with you, but you also need to learn some of the things about what's called due diligence. It's like you're responsible for making sure that you do all your homework ahead of time on properties, so that you don't end up, getting into a bad deal. And it's part of the reason why I kind of shy a little bit away from any kind of long-term financing with sellers, just because I've seen times where, I've seen times where they actually were trying to sell property that they didn't own a free and clear deed on it. So, that's just one thing. Or, they'll get into it a couple of years and, run into financial hardships themselves and stop paying. If they have a mortgage on it, they stop paying the mortgage on there. And the next thing you know, the people living there have a foreclosure notice on the tack to the front door, and they're being evicted because the people they're buying it from quit making their payments to the bank. So, there's a lot of things that you kind of have to watch out for when you're doing the owner finance type of a purchase. It's not all bad. People have success stories after success stories on it, but there are things that you have to watch out for when you're doing that sort of a thing. Another reason why I kind of like dealing with banks is because, you take all of that out of the picture when you do that. We've actually had banks go bankrupt that held properties with us, but because of the way they're set up, the government will come in, take the assets, and farm them out to other banks. So you really don't end up losing out on the deal because of, a bank having a problem. Where you have a private individual that has a problem, you could have a real problem on your hands. So anyway, that's just my opinion on private owner finance type of deals. Anyway, we probably ran this one over a little bit too far. I do want to leave you with one thing though, and that is, if you are really, truly looking to make your move from whatever lifestyle you have now to a sustainable type of a property, again, whether it's the recreation property, the homestead, or kind of an off-grid kind of a property, don't lose hope or despair over the fact that you don't have the resources to get it done. There's a lot of ways to get it done. And I'll probably end up trying to focus on those kind of details over the next several videos, just so that you can find a pathway through that jungle of, how do I get this thing accomplished when I don't have the resources to really get it accomplished? And there's ways to do it. So anyway, until next time, click the notification bell, click the subscribe button if you would, if you're finding value in these. If some point you decide that it ain't worth it, unsubscribe. But anyway, do that. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.